Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for another episode of our OC Spotlight. The one show, maybe the only show that shows you the most incredible people doing the most amazing things right here in our own backyard. And today is certainly no exception to that. You're going to want to listen to this if you're like me, a movie buff or a wannabe filmmaker. I dreamt of being a filmmaker all my life and doing productions. I worked in Hollywood, took screenwriting. And here I'm talking to you guys because that's a hard dream to achieve for all the reasons we're going to talk about. But we're talking with a man who's making those dreams come through and making money at it, doing these micro-budget films on YouTube. Welcome, if you will, Nick Messina from, what's the name of the company here again? I don't want to say it wrong. Sure. Insurgent. Why do I want to call the insurgency? You're upending the rules of Hollywood here. You're rising up in a revolutionary fashion here to rethink how... These are micro-budget films, which is what? 10,000 to what? What's the kind of max budget on them?
10,000 to 100,000, Paul.
All right. Yeah. At what we used to call indie films, right?
They're indie films, absolutely. They deserve all the respect of the world because these filmmakers are putting a hell out of passion to make that happen.
Absolutely. And again, this was one of my dreams a long time ago when I was much younger, didn't have all this gray. And I studied film, and everybody coming out of film school did the same thing. You went to your parents, you maxed out your credit cards, and you tried to take $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 and make it into something. And the only place you could do it, there was no YouTube, was to take it, to all the film festivals and hope somebody paid attention to it. And it probably never made a dime, but it was your calling card that got you a bigger assignment. Maybe it got some distribution.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's much more harder for a filmmaker to get to the point where you get to a film festival. So we need to reinvent the way a kid goes out of university and interact with the entertainment.
Okay.
So basically, what we are coming up with, we started as YouTube. We started as distributing movies on YouTube. We are now one of, if not the largest network of YouTube channels.
Okay.
We reach.
And it's all listed again as Insurgent. I just typed that into YouTube and...
The channels are branded as V channels. There is V movies, V horror, V sci-fi, V Espanol, V Portuguese. We try to reach people all over the world. We dub 100 movies a month in Spanish and Portuguese. We just launched our own AI dubbing system to increase this. Our goal is to reach as many people as we can.
Yes.
We build our YouTube network, but we also distribute on all the major platforms, Roku, Pluto, Tubi. To be honest, I'm not a movie fan.
That's what you admitted. I thought you were going to tell me I went to film school, and like you, Paul, I wanted to do it, but I couldn't for some reason, so now I'm going to help others to do it, and I'm just well-versed in the history of screen, and I'll talk about Eisenstadt's movie in 1911 or whatever here.
The biggest... issue I find, I've never been in entertainment until 5 years ago.
Okay.
I was in tech. I've always been in tech. Mm-hmm. I miss tech. I don't understand why I'm in media, but here I am.
Okay. All right.
Here I am. The biggest issue I found is when people start talking to me about movies and they deep down and say, "Oh, have you seen that indie movies? It was amazing." I go, "No. I didn't." "Oh, do you want to watch it?" "Absolutely not. I don't watch my movies. Why should I watch other people's movies?"
So let's just share one story. I immediately jumped in and shared the story that I always heard about the director Darren Aronofsky, who is a very popular director today, big budget films. We can talk about some of his films quickly, but I just looking up Wikipedia, and here's what it said. This is the story that I always heard. He graduates from film school. And this is 87, 97, something like that. Around the same time I was trying to, let me just look at this quickly here. I want to get this story in because I think this is 97. And he comes up with this crazy film about the number pi that can never be figured out, right? Pi is this number that goes on and on. So it drives this guy crazy. I think he's trying to figure this out, and he sits in his room trying to calculate. What a bizarre theme for a movie. But this is going to be his little calling card into Hollywood. So how does he finance it? He, in part from $100 donations from his friends and family, in return for which he promised to pay them back $150 if they ever made any money, and he'd at least get some screen credit if the film lost money. He produces his film for $60,000 in 1997. It premieres at the Sundance Film Festival, where it wins Best Director Award, and Artisan Entertainment picks up the distribution right for $1 million, instantly makes money, and instantly he's a filmmaker. Gee, wasn't that easy? Except there are 1 million people who try and do that every year and raise the money, and it flops, and they never see a nickel of it back again. So that was the only way to get started in Hollywood. Then along comes YouTube. I can go on my iPhone and I can shoot something and I can put it up. And maybe, I don't know how I get paid from it. Maybe I get 1 million views, but it's not that much money. And I don't know if the right people see it or just an audience sees it. But it upends the whole thing. And you as a tech guy said, maybe I can turn this into a different model maybe I can be insurgent. Maybe I can create a different model to see how early films, indie films, micro-budget films get made and distributed, right?
Let me tell you a very short story. My job was to study the internet data traffic for the CEO of the biggest telco communication.
Wow, okay.
Like 6 years ago, I start looking and I see that there is a gigantic amount of searches on Google regarding keywords like full movie, action movie, thriller movie.
Horror movies, yeah, all these other
very general keywords. Now, if I tell you that someone is looking for, I don't know, D-Matrix full movie streaming online 7 years ago, you would have immediately thought, oh, these guys are looking for illegal streaming.
Yes,
website.
Exactly. I want to see. I don't want to buy a copy. I want to get an illegal copy.
These very general searches really raised a question. It's why people are looking for action movie. It's a very strange search. Mm-hmm. Now, so I studied the path of this user, and they were ending up in illegal website. Mm-hmm. So what I understood is, okay, we are seeing the start of a commoditization of movies where people don't know what to watch. Mm-hmm. And now think about your experience on the platform. Mm-hmm. How many times you really searched for a movie? Other than browsing and navigating the platform and seeing what they propose to you.
Exactly.
It's very so I came up with this idea. When you search something on Google, Google suggests to you a video on YouTube as a first option out of that search. I knew that millions of people were searching for this generic keyword like action movie, thriller movie. So I said, if I start distributing movies on YouTube, I will have free organic reach from Google. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, now we have 60 million aggregate subscribers. We stream between 300.
60 million people are subscribing to your YouTube channel. Are these one channel or you say they're multiple channels?
25 channels.
Okay.
So aggregate 70 million, give or take. We make between 350 and 500 million views every month. Oh. And I never spend $1 in marketing.
Because Google is sending them to YouTube, or YouTube is suggesting this when I do some sort of...
When I started, there was almost no one putting movies on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So I got Google pushing me all the traffic. And this is how I started. But without having any clue about the media. Entertainment.
I don't know what a movie is. I don't know if this is a good one or a bad one, but I got millions of them, and you want one, I got them.
The funny thing is this. I didn't start with John Wick. I started with the worst movie ever.
Yeah. So let's put a pin on that. I want to come back to that because this is another fascination for me. Horror films. There is a genre of horror films that some get made and they get turned into Friday the 13th or Freddy or these franchises or something here that are made by major studios. And I think they're schlocky and stupid, but they make billions of dollars. And people absolutely go crazy over them. But I've since learned that there are subgenres of... We had somebody on from one of our shows recently who helps review and helps distribute some of these indie horror films. I have a very good friend of mine, we'll talk about off camera here, who was in the entertainment industry like me. He makes these super micro-budget, low films, 30, 40, 50 grand. I never heard of any of them, and he makes money off of in their way. It used to be you bought direct-to-DVD, and now there's some other mysterious way they make money. But it's a huge world of people, the sub-underground genre, looking for these low-budget horror films once in a while they hit it, the Blair Witch Project or something. But
I don't think that people are looking specific for the subgenre or for the low budget. I think that the time we come from a different generation.
Clearly. Look at my face, and I'm really from the old days.
We are a much more similar generation compared to the one of today.
Yes.
For us, we can have some year of different, but it doesn't matter. For us, a movie was a religious moment. You had 1 or 2 movies a week at home, at max, in TV. We were going to the theater. Now, people watch movies literally on the toilet. Well, I'm
watching Gone with the Wind. I'm watching The Godfather on the toilet. Yes, exactly. That's sacrilegious.
The time that we spend on watching movies has increased so much that now the quantity that the machine needs to survive is gigantic.
And the Hollywood factory can only crank out so much of this stuff here.
Exactly. So the Hollywood factory is cranking up the ones that leads the wagon of the train. You need the freaking train.
Exactly. And Hollywood has a standard, and they want a massive return, so they want the biggest audience possible. They don't want to do micro, small, niche, limited release kind of stuff, art stuff, horror stuff, weird stuff, Portuguese stuff or whatever. I want to see big blockbuster, massive stuff, $100 million plus budgets.
But then you need to fill all the other time that people watch. And one thing that will drive you crazy is this. You're a podcast expert. That podcast can be seen speed up at 2 per.
Yes. I don't tell people that, but yes, you could listen to faster 1.5 times, 2 times or something.
What if I tell you that 82% of the movies I stream are streamed 2 per?
Oh, that just kills me as somebody who loves film, and I want to savor it. It is a religious moment. Shut off the lights, turn off the phone. This is going to be, I'm going to get deep into this, and you're saying I'm just casually watching on the toilet. And hurry it up, speed it up.
But that's the reality. So the problem is filmmakers now, they go out of film school where they teach them a word with unicorns that do not exist.
Exactly.
Do not exist. They go out and first they think, and I had this conversation with kids out of film school, said, I'm looking for $4 million. And I start laughing and I say, I have no idea where you're going to find $4 million. Yes. Second, filmmakers were not used to care about the revenues of the movies.
No. Darren Aronofsky didn't care if that first film made money. This is how he was going to make his mark, his artistic imprint in Hollywood, and hopefully start a career, which it did. I hope the other people benefit from it. I hope it does make some money because that'll help. But I'm a filmmaker. I got to tell this story. I want to start.
So I'm trying to change that. So I go to filmmakers and I guide them and I say to them, this is what people want to watch because we collect data from YouTube. Okay. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
7 months ago, I see a gouge on Western movies.
Yes. The genre I love. Okay.
But when we studied the data more, we found out that people were choosing spaghetti Western.
They're not watching John Wayne. They're watching some low-budget Italian version of this. Yeah.
Spaghetti Western. But then what we noticed is that people tend to spend more time watching spaghetti Western with a strong female character.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Because historically, the Western genre has few female in it, and she just comes in for a moment. She's the love interest, but it's all it's Clint Eastwood, it's John Wayne, it's Gary Cooper. It's one strong guy against the world.
So what I did is I got some friends in Italy, as you can imagine. As a guys, we need to shoot a Western. Right. And Western has to have the lead character, which is a strong woman that kills freaking
everybody. That's the formula.
And they come back to me and said, nobody wants to watch it. No problem. Just do it.
Right.
We made 15 million stream in 60 days.
And for a budget of what? What's a spaghetti Western? On what? How much?
$10,000.
$10,000? You're killing me. This is, oh my goodness.
I didn't force, and that's the funny thing. I never force filmmaker to stand within a budget. I told you my range. Now, when I give them the money, I give them the data, and after a recoup investment, I pay them 50%. So now, at the beginning, filmmakers were asking me for the maximum amount.
Yeah.
But now, and I thought, oh my God, they're going to increase. No, it's happening the opposite. Because after I recoup my investment, I pay them 50%. Filmmakers are saying, you know what, we're going to spend less because we want you to recoup your money faster. So you start paying us.
Wow.
And we can do that again because the movie business has become a quantity business. So they called me and said, Nick, we just need 10,000. I said, what are we going to do? A lunch? I need a movie.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's not the first case. I got this group of filmmakers here in LA. They called me and said, we have an idea, Jumanji horror.
Yeah.
I said, I love it. Let's do it. I said, how much do you need? 6,500. And I go, what? Yes, because these are all guys coming out of film school. Everybody has their own, and they want to do something.
Guerrilla film. We're going to shoot it fast. We're going to do it in a day or a week.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The movie was in the most watched on Tubi.
All right, so let me stop you for a second here and wrap my head around this. So I'm in my late 60s. So I grew up in the 60s, 1960s, born in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, which was many consider that one of the golden eras, along with the 40s and the 30s and the 20s. One of the golden eras, 70s, the American filmmakers, Francis Ford Coppola and George Lucas and all Steven Spielberg and all these people. And suddenly film schools came like USC and stuff and came along and all that. Now, that flies in the face. You never go out and say, I'm going to make a movie for the public. I'm going to make the movie I want to tell. I'm going to tell the story that needs to be told, as opposed to the original filmmakers who were just a bunch of businessmen that came out and running Nickelodeons, and they said, what's the public want? They want cowboys and Indian? Give them a cowboy and Indian movie. And the famous stories of Harry Cohn and guys like that, and the Warner Brothers, who would literally go in and the filmmakers off on something. They'd go in and rip off half the script and say, there, get it done. Here, take that page out. Dude, finish it today. It was just production. It was a factory. It was fantasy. Give them what they want. It wasn't about great art. It wasn't about lasting legacies. It was about entertainment. So let's give them something and they play it.
I think there is a middle level in the future, which is filmmaker cannot start by doing a movie that they want today. Mm-hmm. If they follow that path, yes, they do have a chance of making it big, but it's a lottery.
Yes, huge lottery, a long shot lottery.
What I'm telling to filmmaker is, first of all, your dream is not, because sometimes you need to teach kids what their dreams are.
Yeah.
Your dream is not to become a big director. That's your goal. Mm-hmm. Your dream is to live out of being a director.
Yes, to make a living at it.
Two completely different things.
Yes.
So my job is to make you able to live out of being a director. Now that gives you time, freedom, economic freedom to try to reach your goal, mm-hmm. which is becoming a famous director. But
lasting legacy. I'm listed in the top 100 films in the American Film Institute. Yeah.
These two, by the way, in the past, you could take $1 million, make a movie, hopefully go to Sundance and become whatever. Now, nobody's going to give you $1 million. So let me tell you a story about a friend of mine.
Okay, we love stories. All right.
The first one, because when I start thinking about doing this, I thought it will never work. Filmmaker will kill me.
Yeah, because it flies in the face. Don't tell me what to make. I'm independent. I'm an artist. I want to tell a story. I'm going to dream this up and just find somebody to fund it.
So, by the way, I found a way to handle that, because I just say to the filmmaker what kind of genre, and I give them some indication
of what's working.
I don't read the script.
The script. That's the whole idea. First, I got to pitch you there's the pitch, and then I got to put it into a synopsis or a treatment and flesh it out, and then I got to show you the script, and the script's got to go 400 rewrites and blah blah blah. And
This is one of the overrated things in Hollywood, by my point of view, which is producers are filmmakers that didn't succeed.
That's right. Absolutely.
So I go to the filmmaker and say, listen, this is a genre movie that people want to watch, but how you make it, how you write it, I'm already giving you very limited money. I cannot force you in a certain direction.
Okay, I like that.
It's a common goal. Your creativity, I'm not a creative person. Okay.
You're the businessman. You're saying the data tells me they want this, and if you can deliver this kind of story, this kind of thing, this kind of genre, then at this kind of budget, I know it'll work.
My job is to bring your story to the world. Now, I tell you what the world is looking for.
Yeah.
But I have people who came back to me with horror movies in black and white. And when it's their choice, they bet with me. They put effort with me. They deserve respect. And the main respect, the most important form of respect is to shut up. Yes. When it comes to something that I don't know I cannot take a picture of my dog with my iPhone. How can I ever judge?
And yet every producer thinks they know the answer. You get these endless notes. I've seen it, and more sex, less this, and you're like, you're missing the whole story. You're missing the whole idea of this thing here.
Exactly. So now I was telling you a story. So this guy come to me, I tell him my idea, and he goes, I'll make a movie for 30,000 grand. And I said, okay. He said, just tell me which movie. So I say, okay, Stalker, and this is a real conversation. Stalker, cabin, a couple, everybody dies. Okay?
We've seen that movie 100 times, and apparently we want to see it 100 more.
And he goes, okay, I'll write it. Do the movie, comes up with Stranger, and Stranger made probably, it was the first movie we produced, like 45 million stream. You never heard of it?
I never heard of it, no.
Okay, but we will open a parenthesis on this. Now, Emanuele secured an investment for a $10 million budget movie, a noir movie. A noir, which means that he didn't understand anything of what I teach him. But
film noir, black film, black and white. There's a whole style of films.
How did he get there? Because what is the difference between him and other 100 filmmaker? Because he went to investor, said, I made a movie which made 45 million stream. It went in all the platform. It has been dubbed in 5 languages. So now he has an history case of success. And because investors do not understand anything about the media industry, they only want the red carpet. They want to know actor and actresses.
And they want their cousin to be in the movie. And they want to be their girlfriend.
Now I'm giving to the filmmaker data. And data become their instrument to support their idea with investors.
Because it isn't art. It isn't I sit and paint whatever I want to paint and the world loves it. I'm going to be Van Gogh and I'm going to die, and nobody ever bought one of his paintings. It wasn't until he died that his brother started selling these things. He was a disaster. He was broke. Nobody liked it. It was bizarre. It was strange. It was only later in life, or after his life, that he discovers fame and obviously no fortune. Legacy. This is the film business. What the early film studios all understood when they crank out these silent movies in 3 days, or they would crank out these poverty row films in a week or 2 or a month, give the public what they want. They want entertainment. They want escape.
Because we need to remember this. Entertainment become costly. If you want to go to a theater, people are complaining, oh, the theater, they're dying. Of course they're freaking dying. Because for a normal family, go to a theater cost $150.
Exactly.
Because you need to buy, because why you go to the theaters? Okay, you go to theaters, if you're a family, because you want to give to your family an experience.
Exactly.
And the experience, shared experience. And when you do that, you don't want to bring them only to the theaters. You want to go to eat something out, to eat a pizza. You want to go to the bowling or whatever you want to do a night. Now, make your calculation. For a family of 4 going out to the theater, it's $150 to $200 bucks night. Easy. Now you have an option now. we are home with anything we want to eat because there is DoorDash.
The fridge is there. Yeah, exactly.
We pick a movie for free, and we use that $200 for any other freaking experience in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people do.
And we have the massive 100-inch screen at home in high definition. And we've got access to all these endless streaming apps. They're saying, watch me, watch this. Or we can go on the free platforms like Tubi and YouTube and everything. And they got more choices than I could ever consume in my lifetime here.
If you think about the big success in theaters of the last years, so now we have Wicked, okay? I went to watch Wicked with my daughter, 8 years old.
You're talking about Wicked.
Dad, can you bring me? And I would rather kill myself. Also because I'm not American, so I didn't know the lyrics.
Yeah.
I tell you, one of the best experience ever. We went to the theater and people were singing and they were all dressed.
Because we grew up on The Wizard of Oz, and maybe we saw the musical on stage, and now it comes to life.
Going to the theaters, Paul, it was an experience, which was worth it. It wasn't successful because of the movie. Let's state it clear: the movie sucked. It was terrible. But
don't hold back. Tell us what you think. All right, yeah.
We created an experience.
Yes.
My wife and my daughter, they dressed in pink for 1 week. They went to all the events.
The whole Barbie thing. Yeah, right.
The picture, and then it posted on Instagram. So now people really go to theater if either there is a gigantic success where everybody talks about it and they spend $300 million on marketing, or it has to be an experience, because if people have to spend $200, they go to something else. Another thing that drives me crazy.
And I'll say this, or the classic thing, when film was born in the 1920s and 30s, we're going through economic hardships. It was an escape. It was fantasy. So I have a horrible, miserable life, but I can escape and see happy people singing and dancing on the movie thing. So it took me out of my ordinary life into a fantasy. And
that's, you said something very important, because what I say to my filmmaker is this. You said something also right before when you said filmmakers want to do their stories.
Yes.
But then I speak to filmmaker and I say, who do you make movies for? Because most of the people that will watch your movie are people that work shift of 8 hours.
Yes.
To bring, their main goal in life is to bring food on the table of their kids. That's their main goal.
Exactly.
Now, do you think that at the end of this day, where they have suffered, where they have
struggled, difficult, tired, weary,
they want to have a lesson about life from you?
Yes.
Or do you think they want you to provide them with 1 hour of relax, of escape from reality? Now, it doesn't mean you can't send a beautiful message.
Clearly.
But when you watch these movies that are clearly made to make the filmmaker proud and the group of critics.
Because the way they shot it. For example, supposedly the greatest film of all time, always on the top list, an ancient film. You probably don't even, because you're not a film buff, Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. Now it's an entertainment movie. It's a well-written movie. It's a well-acted movie. But when you go to film school, they dissect it endlessly. The way he focuses the camera so that the stuff in the background is still in focus as well as the stuff in the foreground. Mind-boggling. He put ceilings on everything because usually that's where the lights are hanging, so he could shoot up and do things. Nobody had ever done this. On and on. He invented a way, a visual story medium that people are still analyzing and looking at. Not
at the same time,
it's entertaining.
It's like when you watch. This is an example I make very often. It's like a Tarantino movie. Okay?
Yes.
Me and you, we go watch Kill Bill.
Yes. Brilliant film.
We go out of Kill Bill and you start breaking and sucking my souls with stories about, did you see the reference to the spaghetti western or to the Bruce Lee?
To the Kurosawa film, the samurai films and all this stuff.
I go out and buy a katana. The first thing I do. We both loved the movie.
Right.
We both loved it. It talked to me and it talked to you in two complete different ways.
It had different levels to it. You could just watch it and it was entertaining and it was a good story and it was fun to watch, or you could really dive into the art of what they're doing and the references and how it fits into the whole story.
Now, filmmakers needs this. Filmmakers needs, the first thing I say to a filmmaker is, first, you gotta make sure that your film make money and is seen. Right. Because if nobody sees it, it does not exist.
It doesn't exist. That's a frightening thing. I made it. It's here. It's out. No, it doesn't exist.
No, it's in your closet.
Right.
Nobody watched it. So the second thing is you gotta find a balance between what you want to talk about and what people want to see.
Yes.
There is this strange idea that, this concept of the right to talk. Yes, you have the right to talk. We have the freedom of speech. We don't have the right to listen.
The obligation to listen. And how many people are trying to, because I sometimes think, we'll riff on this for a second, I sometimes think that filmmakers, all filmmakers, are really just trying to impress their friends. They're trying to, they're seeking validation and applause. And they say, oh, I don't want any awards. But they want recognition from their community. They want the people who they think are cool to say, that was cool.
Because that's how the business has been made.
Right.
Now, what I say to my filmmakers, I cannot say that live, but
everyone, fill in the blank, right?
Everyone. You want to go back to those people and say one thing. Oh, you made a wonderful movie that the critics loved, that went to the film festival. How many people watched it? 0. Now you can go back and say, well, mine was seen 10 million times.
I'll give you my little film geek reference. I'm going to look it up right here. There was a film made in the 30s with Joel McRae called Sullivan's Travels. And it's about a filmmaker who's in the 20s who makes serious, important films. And he hits a brick wall, and he can't do it, and he's struggling, and to be creative, to be relevant, to do something nobody's ever done before. So he drops out and he becomes a hobo, and he goes out in the train to rediscover the world and everything, gets out of his gilded cage. And in the end, he's in some hobo camp, and the people are starving, and he's watching them watch like Mickey Mouse, and they're laughing. And he says, oh, my God, I forgot why we're making movies, to make people laugh.
And you know what? When I started, everybody said to me, that's not replicable. It's just 1 or 2 filmmakers. You know how many movies we made in 16 months?
You can tell me some startling number. It's like the 1920s or when they would crank out the... How many?
250.
In today's world, and what's a major studio crank out today with $100 million? What, 20, 10, 15?
With 100 million?
Yeah. One, yeah.
One. We made 250. And in the first 4 months, we didn't go out with all the movies because they're too much. So we're trying to hold some back. We recently reached 1 billion views.
1 billion views? That's a B.
Yeah, B. These guys from Italy called me and said, oh, we want to do an action movie. I said, okay. Let's do it. I like it. It had all the keywords that I needed. And they came back and I said, okay, let's try to go directly on all the platforms, including YouTube. We made 11 million views like in 2 weeks. And people are, there are people saying on YouTube, this is better than Netflix. And we spent $18,000.
So in a weird way, it gives it another relation. I think his name was Howard Rosenberg. He was the late TV critic for the LA Times here in Southern California. I think he died. I don't think he's still around. Maybe wrong. Sorry, Howard, if you're still out there. But he wrote something that always stuck with me as he retired and left the paper. And he said, I'm not going to be a TV critic anymore. This would apply to be a movie critic as well. I don't know what a TV show is anymore. Is it a beginning, a middle, and an end? Is it a classic first act, second act, third act? Does it have a cohesive story and good acting and good lighting and good direction and all this stuff that we thought was art? Or is it my cat rolling around on the ground with a ball of string? Because that gets more views than all these TV shows combined.
I want to highlight something. what we do is not against the art. It's not against the Hollywood big movies.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, what we are trying to do is to form filmmakers with a business mentality, but also with a cost-saving mentality.
Yes. Which none of them have. That film school is
just, you gotta spend $100 million. No, you can do good art, good movies with controlled budget. So I envision that in the future, in the next 10 years, a lot of these filmmakers that are working with me or they're working with other companies that do something like that, we will see them getting to the top. Why? Because they have learned how to control the budget.
Mm-hmm.
So what other people...
And to deliver what people want to see.
Exactly. When you will see people that can do something for $40 million, and now these kids that have worked hard to learn how to control costs, they can come out and say, we can do for 15 million. And when it comes on a $25 million difference, you will have a lot of value in the market.
So I'm going to give you two more film geek kind of stories, and then we'll wrap this up here. So one was, I'm back in the 70s, and I grew up in the 60s, loved classic films from the 30s, 40s, 50s. The 60s, a revolutionary phase, and then turned into the 70s and the anti-hero and the new American film, the French New Wave film, and the American filmmakers, the Spielbergs and the Coppolas and all this stuff. So I come to Hollywood in the 80s, and I get involved, and I get on sets, and I get all this stuff. And I'll never forget Zoetrope Studios, Francis Ford Coppola's effort to recreate the big studio, to put people on staff. We're just going to have people writing movies and actors on staff. Even if they're not doing anything, we're going to pay them. We're not all going to be independents, and we just come together. We're going to recreate the studio and turn it into a machine. Major flop, lost his house, his life, everything, wiped him out. And I quickly discovered why, because I got to go on Zoetrope's lot, and they were making a film called One from the Heart, the film that broke him. And it went so far over budget. And in there, he had built a giant, it's all about some guy in Las Vegas, and he built a miniature. I still remember seeing that miniature. It was like the size of a warehouse. The miniature neons of Las Vegas at some exorbitant, whatever that cost, $1 million to make, millions of dollars to make this. Rather than go to Las Vegas and just shoot it, he made these little miniatures because it looked arty and it looked cool when you shot it. And after they built this thing, he bought a special effects company just to teach him how to do this. They built it. I got to see it. And it never made it into the film because when he walked in and saw it, he said, oh, that looks stupid. Let's just go to Las Vegas and shoot this. And they threw all that footage away. They destroyed the whole set, and they wasted millions of dollars on something that didn't work. That whole film was
a story you hear
every day.
Think about it. Can I ask you, who is the most successful company?
I don't know that today, but I'll say for a while it was Roger Corman in the 60s who made these things for $10,000, and everybody got their start there. Ron Howard and Jack Nicholson.
You made the name.
Yeah.
It's beside him, which is our star, Roger Corman.
Right.
It's Jason Blum from Blumhouse.
Oh, there you go.
Control budget movies, horror movies that people want to watch. He's
not going to win any awards, may not be the most perfectly put together productions of Roger Corman stuff, but it worked. It made money. It
2 to 5 million, 6, 8, whatever, maybe 10.
Right.
And it's a bullseye. Bam.
Over and over and over again.
60 million. Then people come to me and say, oh, but that movie made $200 million. I said, okay, what's the profit?
Minus $250 million.
When I hear people that say Avatar has to make $1 billion to go break even, and I say, what business in the universe?
Right.
Elon Musk didn't have a business plan that needed $1 billion.
Because filmmakers aren't taught to be business people. They're taught to be artists, auteurs, and they're all seeking fame and glory more than they are fortune for sure, but they're all seeking that moment on Mount Rushmore to be remembered and to make that impact.
Oh, they are also looking for hypocrisy, because I give you another example. All this idea in Hollywood that you have to speak about every sex, gender in every movie.
You got to hit every target. You got to have everybody.
It's ridiculous. but because it's fake.
Yes.
Let me tell you,
yes,
it's fake. And I think that it creates the opposite reaction. I give you an example. You think about Disney.
Perfect example, right?
The Mermaid. When they decided to make the Mermaid with an Afro-American,
whose name escapes me, but yes, the actress.
Exactly. It was a flop. But then you have Encanto,
yes,
which was a massive success.
Exactly.
Why? Because Encanto was a story built around a culture that come from that culture.
Exactly.
But it creates a bridge. So I watch it. It doesn't belong to my culture, but I create bridge, and I watch
brings
it.
me into a world I've never seen before. As opposed to, they used to say it when I was doing stuff in the 70s and in the 80s and stuff, it was all sex or action. We need more sex. So this film is a very touching story of a mother and child, or a mother and a grandmother. There's no sex in this thing here. But all of a sudden, well, we got to have some sex. We got to have a car crash. We got to have all this stuff. And they're just artificially jamming this stuff in there. It's not real.
I was studying the data, and my romantic comedy went from an average view time of 43 minutes to 21 minutes in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hell of a data to change. Mm-hmm. So I started looking and digging it. Why that happened? And I noticed that when people search for love movie, a romantic comedy movie, the views are around 43 minutes.
Okay.
There is a spike in views to romantic comedy that comes from keywords like queer movie, gay movie, that don't lead anymore to drama, but they lead to romantic comedy. Now, they go to romantic comedy, they see that they are not represented because it's not a story about
them,
the LGBTQ word, and so they only watch 3 or 4 minutes. So I call a friend of mine, and he always said to me, I want to do an LGBTQ drama. I said, no. I don't want to do it. It doesn't work, at least in my ecosystem. So I called him and said, I need you to make an LGBTQ romantic comedy. And he goes, why? Oh, I want to do a drama. No, trust me.
Because once they do it, they'll engage with it and they'll stick with it longer here.
Exactly.
Because it's authentic.
But what we are missing desperately is not inclusion, it's authenticity.
Say that again. It's not just jamming everybody into the story. It's finding a story that's true and resonates as real.
Yeah, and it's nothing to do with the sex or the stuff. It's about, you have an horror movie. Even if you don't want to put LGBTQ elements in it, why a guy and a man and a woman have to make up? Really? Killer coming up, and you need to put the sex in?
Exactly.
It doesn't mix. It's not authentic.
And why does it need a car crash?
Yes, it does.
Right.
Inclusion is not an excuse to lack of authenticity.
Yes.
And if we reach for authenticity, now we can reach for inclusion, because we're going to speak about different words under different point of view, and people enjoy much more that.
And it doesn't just reflect me in my life, and so I tick the box. That's for the gay audience. This is for the black audience. This is for the young audience. This is for the action audience. This is for the female audience. What all these genres, we'll put a couple pieces in, just tidbits to satisfy them. I will go watch a film because it takes me into a world I've never been before. It is that bridge into something.
Because sorry for the Italian.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's exactly that. Because when you speak about another word, now we build bridges.
Yes.
When it's something, when something do not belong to us, we try to build elements of connection.
Yes.
In us and that word. So this is what I try to teach to my filmmakers.
Does anybody in Hollywood in the studios listen to this? Because they're data-driven. They all do test screenings. They all want to adjust the ending because it didn't play well to the test audience. They want to give what the audience wants. There's a famous story, the advertising story that's been told a million times. This is the same thing. You go into an ad agency. The ad agency gets hired by a big company to make dog food, or they create this new dog food, and they analyze and they say, we got some good news and bad news about your new product, sir. We've done all the research, we've done all the test market, we've tried it, we've sampled it, done everything else. It's cheaper, it's better quality, The packaging is spectacular. People reach for it. The consumers want to buy it. Only one problem: the dogs won't eat it. We're making films that the dogs don't want.
Because that's, you just said Hollywood is data-driven, and I think that there is nothing more wrong than that. Hollywood is not data-driven. Mm-hmm. If Hollywood was really data-driven, we wouldn't have a need of thousands of people working there. Mm. Because the data, this is something I try to focus the attention of the filmmakers. Data are not important. The source of the data is important. Let me explain you what I mean.
Okay. You lost me on that one. All right.
But it will make sense. Hollywood used data from theatrically.
Right.
Okay, perfect. But for a movie to get to the point where it gets to the theatrical release, there are so many human decisions.
Oh, yeah.
That data is wrong. So think about...
Because they don't do data in the beginning. They don't say, let's see if this story plays or this actor plays or whatever. They used to do some of that a million years ago.
Think about what Hollywood does.
Blair Witch Project, this famous one, they made it for a handful, a couple $1,000s, and made millions of dollars, hundreds.
Okay, so if you think about the curve,
right?
Blair Witch Project is the peak of the curve. What Hollywood knows how to do is to take the peak of the curve and stretch it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, now that doesn't make Hollywood data-driven. Absolutely. They just stretch the curve. Looking at the top of the mountain doesn't mean following the data. Mm. It means picking the winner. And paranormal activities went up to the roof for a few bucks, and we had 10 years of look-alike paranormal activities.
That's because they're imitative. So if that works, that's what they must want. Let's give them 50 of those.
Exactly. Yeah. The real, and you have no idea how many times when I started. I have no idea. I went to distributor because I had the YouTube channels. Right. So I went to distributor saying, oh, I need these kind of movies, I need this genre. Everybody say, no, we don't have it, we don't need it. So why you don't need it? And the answer was always, oh, we know it. I said, how the freak you know it? Oh, that's our job.
Because looking backwards, this is what they bought last week. This is what we're going to give them next week here.
Exactly. So when I started speaking about Western in 2018, and everybody told me, nobody wants to see Western.
It's dead. It's gone. It's a dead genre, everybody says, right?
Yeah. What's the most watched genre all over the world on YouTube, which is the largest platform in the world? Western.
Wow. Because it's the epitome of the American individualism, one guy against the world and all that stuff here. And whether it's in space and it's Star Wars, it's just a Western in space.
Exactly.
Star Trek was pitched as Roddenberry said, it's Wagon Train, the TV show to the stars.
Wait, to make the story short in some way, before you mention Roger Corman.
Right.
Okay, Roger Corman was a genius, born in the wrong moment.
Yes.
Roger Corman, if Roger Corman would have had access to the platforms of today, oh boy, what he could have done.
Because he's just making movies for drive-ins, really. That was all this stuff, the 50-foot woman movies and all these crazy, the Beast.
And how many people were started with it?
Oh, I just rattled off a couple. Jack Nicholson in Little Shop of Horrors. Ron Howard directed his first films there, on and on. Yeah, tons of those.
Yeah, so maybe in 10 years we will speak and we will count how many of my filmmakers are up there.
From your lips to God's ears. We've gone way over our allotted time here, but what a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Let's give us a website. How do they find you? Where do they go? Because I got to dig. I want to have more of these conversations with you because I think you are, what's the word? Crazy? What's the name of the company?
Insurgence.
Insurgent. You are. There is something surging up from the ground. Insurgency means a groundswell and an overthrow of traditional medium and all of that. That's what you're doing. And in a world where the film business has lost figuring out how to make money and what they do, they really, all they're doing is looking what everybody else, I guess I'll do that. And then somebody else comes up with something, they scramble over here and they scramble over here. I don't know that they really know how to, in the same way that in the 1920s, the famous film factories, the Poverty Row films that made these low-budget films over and over, the gangster films over and over and over again, and made tons of money with Edward G. Robinson and Jimmy Cagney and all these people, and they're just cranking these things out, but the public loved it, and they made a fortune off of it.
We're trying.
Thank you. So it is Insurgency. Is there a website?
No, insurgence.com.
I always want to say Insurgency. Insurgent.com. Go check it out. Hundreds of films, billions of views for little micro-budget films that filmmakers might hold their nose and look down at and say, oh, this isn't great art. But it's what the dogs are eating. That's what the public wants to consume.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Much, Paul.
What a fest.
Have a wonderful day.
All right. Hang on. And I got something to ask you off the camera here, too. But that's it today, folks. Wow. That's what we're talking about here. That's why we do this show, to bring to it the most incredible people doing the most amazing things, like maybe rethinking the way movies are made, or maybe going back to the way movies were made and the whole purpose of why movies are made, to entertain us, to escape, and to make money. Thanks for joining us.